Get clear on the things you want to do, the things you say you're going to do, and then figure out how you're going to actually go ahead and do those things. And where I see this underlying, or let's call it like tangential theme of imposter syndrome, is the fact that imposter syndrome is also tricky and also kind of funny in the sense that a lot of us have imposter syndrome while doing the thing that we're afraid to do.
Let's link up with Krysta on the FYX. She's a wellness coach with a focus on mental well-being and physical strength.
Hey there, FYX listeners. Welcome back to our latest episode of the FYX podcast. I'm your host, Krysta Huber. Happy end of October. It is Halloween, October 31st. November is upon us. The last 60 days of the year are here. So I got a solo episode for you today. I wanted it to be something motivating. And I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. I had to do a little searching within me to think about what I wanted this episode to be about. I've been on a kick of solo episodes. I have to say, I never thought I would do this many solo episodes on my podcast. I'm coming up on the 4-year anniversary of the show. It's in about a month. And when I set out to start the FYX to record episodes, I had this vision that every single week, no matter what, I'd have a guest. And quite frankly, I was actually really intimidated by the idea of doing solo episodes. At certain points, I felt like I had to have scripts. I had to have exact notes, the talking points of what I wanted to talk about. But like anything, if you keep doing it and you get good at it through your reps, through that practice, just like we build strength in the gym, just like food tracking gets easier when we do it more frequently, it's become not only, I shouldn't say easier, because today is a really good example of where I felt like I was kind of like searching within me for the right topic to present to all of you today. But I look forward to it. I like having this outlet to be able to just turn on my mic, turn on my camera, set up my laptop, get the lights going, and reflect on themes in my own life, themes that are coming up for clients, themes that are coming up for people that I talk to on social media about their biggest challenges with managing their fitness and nutrition goals amid their busy corporate life, mom life, being a partner, being a sister, friend, what have you. It's fun. So that got me thinking about, okay, what are all the things I did to get to this point? A lot of it had to do with taking risks. But like I said, the only way these solo episodes started to feel easier was from me just doing them. And as I was thinking about where I wanted to go with this one today, I decided to pull up the Notes app on my phone. And I've seen a few of these memes on Instagram recently. I think they're so funny. And it's like screenshots of, at the top, it'll say like a girl's phone notes in 2024. And the first note is like some really deep quote about her having some kind of existential crisis. And then the one underneath it is a grocery list. And the irony of how different those two notes are is not lost on me, because if you open my notes, you will see a wide array of different types of things. And the reason why I decided to open my notes is because over the last couple of years, when I have ideas for content, for posts, for podcast episodes, I might be like out and about. Maybe I'm in the grocery store. Maybe I'm on a walk. Maybe I'm at the gym. Maybe I'm having a conversation with somebody on Zoom and I'm like, oh, I want to jot this down. So I decided to search in my search function on my notes app, podcast ideas, or I typed in the word podcast. And I thought more notes would come up, but I guess I have executed on a lot of the podcast ideas that I have had. And the one that came up, ironically, was related to the topic that I was kind of like sitting with. And that's this idea of confidence and of building confidence, kind of related to imposter syndrome and somewhat related to this theme of keeping promises to yourself. And what I thought was so interesting about this note that I pulled up is I actually wrote it almost exactly a year ago to the day. I wrote this note on October 21st. And I'm recording this on October 25th in preparation for our Halloween episode. So I was like 365 days plus 4, 369 days later, I was having this conversation with myself in my head about this theme of confidence, this idea of confidence. And it's shown up for me a lot recently in conversations I'm having with clients and potential clients. So I thought it kind of ironic, but there are no accidents in the universe that I stumbled on this note. And what I decided to do for this episode was kind of react to what I wrote at that time and see if it still rings true now, a year later, having had new life experiences, different interactions with people, different life lessons learned, what have you. So here's what I wrote. October 21st, 2023, podcast idea or post idea. I have a feeling I did do a post on this. Confidence is so important, but it's tricky because you can't build confidence if you stop yourself from executing. So true. Chances are I heard that from somebody else and I'm not sure who, and I wish I could credit them, but maybe this was a kind of like conversation I had with myself. But what I loved about this is the fact that over the last year, every time this theme of confidence has come back up when I'm sharing it as a lesson for my clients, what I'm saying to them is you build confidence or you get good at losing body fat, or you have the certainty of the outcome that you will lose body fat, that your jeans will fit better, that you'll feel more confident in the way you look, so long as you keep the promises to yourself. And in a way, that is what I said a year ago, but I put it a little differently because that last part of the sentence, you can't build confidence if you stop yourself from executing. That is the same sentiment as saying the only way we build confidence is by actually keeping our promises to ourselves. So today's language, keeping the promises to yourself. Last year's language, don't stop yourself from executing. So I reframed it with more of a positive spin over the last year. And I guess if I were to psychoanalyze myself, that's probably a good thing because I'm looking at it from this place of get clear on the things you want to do, the things you say you're going to do, and then figure out how you're going to actually go ahead and do those things. And where I see this underlying, or let's call it like tangential theme of imposter syndrome, is the fact that imposter syndrome is also tricky and also kind of funny in the sense that a lot of us have imposter syndrome while doing the thing that we're afraid to do. A lot of us are not going to build that confidence, like I wrote in this note, because we're afraid that we're not qualified, that we're not capable, that we're not able to do something because we haven't had the experience yet. We don't have the skills. We need to do another certification. We need to practice something. We need to study for something. Those are all ways in which we're not actually executing, right? There's some kind of roadblock. We're preventing ourselves from going all the way. We're preventing ourselves from going to that next step. We're preventing ourselves from getting closer to the outcome that we really desire because we're not going ahead and taking the leap and doing the thing. Now, it's interesting about confidence for the same reason that I wrote down a year ago, and I wish I'd put more context to it to just kind of like remember some of the things I was considering at that time. When I wrote this, I had probably just gotten back or was on my way to a trip that I took to Dallas, but I don't think this that like makes me jog anything in my memory of like what I was thinking about at the time. But like I said, I just thought it'd be like a fun little exercise. I think it's kind of cool as a podcaster when you get to hear from as somebody who listens to podcasts and as a podcaster, when you get to hear from people, like, where do you come up with your episode ideas? And obviously with the work that I do, a lot of my episode ideas come from conversations I've already had with clients. And this past week, in hosting our Chaos to Consistency Masterclass, I really did touch on this theme of confidence in sharing the exact framework that we take our clients through and talking about the dieting hacks that nobody's talking about. And if you want the access to that replay, hit me up on Instagram or head over to the show notes and I have a link for you to go ahead and get it. So I'm not going to do the big reveal and I'm not going to share the 2 dieting hacks that I did touch on, but I will share one of them. And the big one that ties back to this idea of confidence has everything to do with your belief system. It has everything to do with the way you talk to yourself. And what I talk about inside the masterclass is I talk about these different personality types or these archetypes, if you will, that I've now seen over the last 4 years running the Fitness Fix, but even in the last decade, working in the fitness industry, especially in boutique fitness, working as a group fitness instructor. And the women that I've interacted with and coached in that time tend to fall in like one of three of these three buckets or a combination of all three. And these buckets are really just identities. Examples. You consider yourself the corporate girly who works really hard, wants to climb that ladder, wants to be promoted, but feels like at the end of every day, she's too exhausted or has to send one more email rather than get to that meal prep. And so you don't meal prep at all. You'll do takeout instead, or just eat something kind of quick, reactively, not the thing that you know is actually going to be the best thing for you. Second type of person, you may be the woman who feels like she had such an easy time losing weight in the past. And now, as you've gotten quote unquote older, all of the things that seemed to work for you when you were 20 something, 30 something, 40 something no longer do. And you're frustrated. You're the friend who can't even look at a slice of pizza without gaining 2 pounds, while all the other girls you're sitting around with enjoying that pizza with are like, they can eat whatever they want. That's your perception. And then the last one is for my moms out there who have this story that it's your responsibility to put everybody else before you. It's your responsibility to take care of everybody. And there, like I said, these are just 3 examples, and there are varying degrees of all 3 of those. And a lot of people could probably be a combination of them. But the thing about it, and what I shared in our masterclass, is those are all excuses. And that can sound harsh, but the reason why they're excuses is because they're stories that we use as convenient truths so that when we don't get the results we want, in this case, in this context, talking about losing body fat, having your clothes fit better, feeling more energized, feeling lean and toned, looking lean and toned, we have something to blame. We have something to fall back on. Well, it's like, and I've been this person too. So as I shared in the masterclass, I say this with zero judgment. You tell yourself, oh, well, it's okay if I gain like 5-10 pounds because look how much I have to show for myself with my career. I've done that with the Fitness Fix. Oh, it's okay that it's a little bit harder for me to lose weight now than it was when I was 22 because that's just life. That's what's supposed to happen. I've said that before. And the last one, I'm not at that phase of life yet, but I can see and witness as I see friends, family members become new moms, as I talk to clients who are younger moms with smaller children, as I talk to moms who are transitioning through different phases as their kids now transition to their own different phases of life and maybe don't need mom in the same way that they do. I see these patterns coming up. And what I notice about all of these patterns is they completely undercut your confidence. And what's wild about it is they should do anything but. And here's why. If you think about what it takes for you to be successful in your career, it takes dedication, getting things done on time, doing things quickly, generating new ideas, being creative, raising your hand, saying that you can take something on, showing your enthusiasm for the work that you do. Those are all skills that you possess, right? Imagine what it would look like if you took all of those skills and that thought process and that perspective, that lens, and just literally scooted it on over and applied it to your fitness and nutrition journey. What kind of results could you say? And how much better about yourself, and therefore how much confidence would you grow by simply doing that, by drawing that parallel to say to yourself, hey, if I am capable of being successful and feeling successful in this one avenue of my life, what is holding me back from having that sort of abundance in all areas of my life? It doesn't have to be one versus the other, you guys. You can have it all and you can do it all. Because here's the thing, you're already doing it all anyway. You're probably listening to this podcast, maybe while you're on a walk or you're commuting somewhere or you're in the car picking somebody up to go from one thing to the next, whether it's a sport or activity, or maybe you're running from one errand to the next. You're getting it all done. Except for you making the time to take care of you. And you convince yourself there's this hierarchy that you need to follow, that there's this order that's like, okay, well, I have to get this email out. I have to take my, I have to do this errand. I have to take my kid somewhere. And then if I have some time left over, well, I guess I can kind of justify sneaking a walk because I have to take the dog out. But like maybe after that, I can make the time to get to the gym. Or, oh, shoot, it's already 6:30. There's no way I can, prepare the best meal that I possibly could. Or a big one that I hear when I'm encouraging people to track their food in advance. It's like, I don't have time for that. Yes, you do. And hint, hint, that was one of the other hacks that I shared in the masterclass, but I'm not going to go into detail because I want you to check it out yourself. But it all comes back to confidence. You're lacking confidence because you're not executing in just one area. And it doesn't mean that we have this expectation for you that you should be able to execute in all of these areas perfectly all the time. That's not reality either. But what it does mean is you're keeping yourself stuck. And like I talked about last week, that all or nothing pattern is causing you to convince yourself that if you can't do it perfectly, if you can't do it to the nth degree, it being your routine when it comes to your workout schedule, or you tracking your macros, hitting your macros on a daily basis, prioritizing your protein goal, finding that balance with going out to eat, making sure you're making the best choices that you possibly can. That doesn't have to be perfect. Like you can find a gray area where we look at exactly where you are right now, which is something we take every Fitness Fix client through. In the first week of our program, we do not assign you macronutrients, and we purposely ask you to track your food with little to no direction from myself. And that is intentional because if we can meet you where you're at, if we can have an understanding of what your schedule looks like, what your day-to-day looks like, what keeps you up at night, what your anxieties are, where you think you could fit your workouts in. Now we can be really honest together of plugging in what's actually doable. And leave the workout schedule to the side for a second. Think about it in the context of meal prep. Maybe you are not the person who is going to be in her kitchen every single night cooking a meal from scratch. I'm not. And I still find those pockets of time to be able to put together a meal that I know I'm going to enjoy, that I know will also fit into my macros. And guess what? Sometimes if it's not like the most delicious meal I've ever made in my life, I still eat it. I don't set this bar for myself that it has to be this like perfectly, Instagram blogger worthy meal. If it's got my protein, it's got some veggies in the mix, maybe it's got some rice for some other carbs, avocado, I season things, add a lot of spices, garlic, onion, all that sort of stuff. It tastes good, gets the job done. And I can fit that into my exact schedule, just like I'm going to show you. And why does that matter? Because when I show you, when I frame it up for you in this way that it actually looks pretty simple and actually feels pretty easy. And I mean, it looks pretty simple to the point where 99% of the clients who come and work with us in the first week after we start reviewing how you're tracking your food and like what you're eating and the recommended adjustments to that, most people are like, what? Like it gets to be this simple. So you're telling me that if I do this, I'm going to get the results that I want? Yes, girl. But now you have to execute on it on a daily basis because we have to build consistency. And to bring it all the way back to this theme of confidence, what's going to build your confidence? You being consistent, like we said, you getting those reps in. And if we can position it in a way that's showing you that what you're doing right now doesn't have to be completely thrown out the window. We just have to work together to find areas where we can make adjustments, where we can make slight improvements, and then double down on those improvements. If we, one, see that they're working for us because the scale is moving, our progress pictures look good, because you have more energy, because you're not snoozing your alarm every single morning. If we have all those positive pieces of feedback, like your body's literally telling you, hey, this is it. Let's keep going with that and just continue to be consistent with that for longer and longer. It doesn't even mean that we have to layer in like 3 other changes that need to be made. We don't have to worry about, let's say, the timing of when you are going to have like your carbohydrates before and after your workout. If in the first place, your carbohydrate intake is just completely inconsistent, depending if it's Monday, Tuesday, or Friday. It gets to be that easy when you have the support. And if you feel like you're lacking with that confidence, that's another role that coaching plays in your life. Coaching to me has two roles. I put those two words together. I was wanting to say coaching and roles. Coaching has two roles, two purposes, in my opinion. And it's one, the biggest one, compressing and condensing timelines for you. And two, creating certainty. And that certainty creates confidence. And the way that we create certainty is, let's say you come to me and you tell me, hey, Krysta, by the end of 2024, 60 days, you guys, I would like to feel like X. How can I make that happen? My responsibility is to lay out that plan for you. But what I also do, and what I also pride myself on as a coach, is saying, here's what's required for that. Does this actually make sense? For example, let's say you wanted to lose 7 to 10 pounds in the next 60 days. That might look like you saying no to certain foods on holidays, maybe skipping some desserts, maybe cutting back on some choices with alcohol. And then I'm going to put the ownership back on you. Are you okay with that? And if the answer is no, guess what? We don't fall back into that all or nothing mindset. We say, that's okay. Maybe it's not 7 to 10 pounds that we'll lose, but what if we lost 4? Or better yet, what if we maintained our weight so that we're not like that statistic that I've shared last week and I've shared before of the average person gaining like 5 pounds over the course of the holiday season, because that season's coming. We're a couple weeks away from Thanksgiving. It's your choice. But if you feel like you're constantly telling yourself, I can't do this, I'm not capable of that, I don't have time, that's a story you're telling yourself, but that's also a question of your confidence. And I want this episode, just a quick little 20-minute rant here, to be a reminder to you that you'll never build that confidence if you don't go for it. And if you're afraid to go for it, that's my role as a coach, to give you the playbook, to give you the certainty, to give you the structure, to make it happen faster for you, because I'm providing that certainty, because I'm helping you figure out that timeline and showing you what's required to get there, or what we might need to adjust, and then asking you if that's something that you're game for, or saying, hey, why don't we just extend this out a little bit further? Because guess what? We're choosing the game plan for life. So if it takes a little bit longer, is that a big deal to you? No? Cool. Okay, let's do it. If you're that busy person, I don't expect you to invest the time to research and figure out and test and try to collect all of this data on yourself that, let's be honest, maybe you're good at weighing yourself every single day, but are you actually taking the time to consider your hunger cues, understand why you might be hungrier on certain days than others? I'll give you an example. A lot of my clients, I look at their cycle and they tell me, hey, I'm a little more bloated right now, or my sleep hasn't been that great. It could be the week before their period. They could be ovulating. They can notice that they're hungrier. We can point to that information because we use an app where we have it all charted out. And really all that boils down to is, I'm giving you an easy place to just dump all that information and actually be accountable and be consistent with tracking it, so that I then can show you and demonstrate to you what that means for your health, and whether that plan that we've set out for you, one, are you actually even sticking to it? And two, is it really working? Why wouldn't you want that shortcut? Again, if you're that busy person, do you really have the capacity? Do you really have the bandwidth to come up with some spreadsheet that, like, we both know you're probably not going to pull up on your phone on a daily basis, to then sit down, because this is really the key step, on a weekly basis, on a every other week basis, on a monthly basis, and take a step back and assess if it's working? You could be stepping on the scale and every month you see that it's fluctuating up and down a pound or 2 or 4, but you don't do anything about it. You choose to be frustrated. So the question becomes, are you actually observing your habits? Are you actually logging any kind of data on yourself? Somebody commented in our group chat during our call the other night during the masterclass, data doesn't lie. It doesn't. But we're not accustomed to keeping track of that for ourselves. And it doesn't sound sexy. It doesn't sound glamorous. It doesn't sound like a quick fix. It's not, but it's a forever solution. So why wouldn't you want that? In the long run, it becomes a quicker fix because you stop wasting your time with all of these stops and starts. You stop wasting your time with the things that aren't going to work for you. So we have 60 days. November 1st is tomorrow. If you're listening to this episode the day that the podcast drops, What are you going to do with it? Are you going to choose to lack confidence in this area of your life when that's not even in alignment with who you are as a person? Because I know there's a confident you. That's the confident you that walks into work every day. That's the confident you in your relationships. That's the confident you that speaks your mind during difficult conversations. So don't you owe it to yourself to be that confident person when it comes to taking care of your body. You will love how you feel. You will love how you look when you continue to follow through with the promises that you make to you. So if you don't even know what those promises should be, and if you can see this clear pattern that you're not following through on them, that's where coaching comes in. And I'd love to be able to support you through that. So one-on-one coaching applications are open, but as we wind down towards the end of the year, I am going to cap the roster and start a wait list for 2025. So if you want to get on there before then, take advantage of it because I'm only taking 10 people. I've already had 3 of those spots taken over the last week, and I want you to be one of them. Even if it's just for us to have a conversation to get a little bit better understanding of what that coaching is about, send me the message, fill out the app. You have nothing to lose. Well, if anything, you do have some weight to lose that you want to lose, but everything to gain by doing it the right way. So that's all I got for you guys this week. Happy November. Let's kick this month off strong. Let's end 2024 on our best note yet. And from wherever you're listening from, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And I will be back next week with a guest. So stay tuned for some really, really exciting new conversations coming in November.